Come to think of it, are you still Europe's biggest Sonic fan after Brexit?
What? Wait. I wasn't the EU's biggest Sonic fan.
Oh, yeah, never mind.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm still geographically the biggest Sonic fan. I just can't trade with other Sonic fans.
Facts.
A good starting point for us would be probably to say who we are. I think that would be a good point. Because everyone knows I'm Jay Eggman, and this is my podcast called The Opinion Zone. But this is the first time that you've appeared on it. As a wonderful special guest, of course.
And I am the bigger Sonic fan.
I don't know. I don't agree with that. I don't endorse this.
Wow. Well, if Europe's biggest Sonic fan doesn't endorse it, well,
if I'm Europe's biggest Sonic fan, what could you possibly be?
Well, I am Gilles. I am an illustrator. I like drawing all things cute and fluffy, and that includes Sonic art.
Yes. And he's at his most fluffiest now, thanks to the movies, where he is
the fluffiest.
Super fluffy. And me and you were really lucky in the sense that we got to go. I know everyone has heard this, everyone who is willing to listen, and a few people who aren't willing to listen have heard that we both went to the premiere in London, which was amazing and fantastic and wild. And because of that, means we got to see the movie a little bit early, a little bit before everyone else. And it means that we have lots of opinions and thoughts, and what better way to just sort of get that all off our chest than to record it and force people to listen to our feelings.
Yep.
Yes, exactly.
Very true. Very true. I like forcing my opinion on theirs. He joked.
Do not quote me on that.
Do not quote me on that. No. Okay.
I'm going to assume, I know this anyway, but I'm going to assume, for the sake of our listeners, that you're in the same boat as me, whereas this is probably the first time you've attended like a big movie premiere.
Yes, definitely. I hadn't been in the cinema for like 4 years.
Yeah.
So yes, it was a great comeback.
I was going to say, what will get him back into the cinema? I guess if we invite him to a world premiere with celebrities and A-listers. That's how badly we need him back in the cinema.
Exactly. Yeah. They knew what they were doing. 100%.
It worked.
It did. We were definitely there.
And for full disclosure, let's be honest, we didn't have a huge amount of notice. So it was sort of thrown upon us, which we're very grateful for.
24 hours.
Less than 24 hours. We got the call and was like, hello, do you fancy coming to this movie premiere? And obviously my response was, well, they asked if I was in the area and could get to London. And luckily I actually was, thanks to horrendous storms. So, weather's, Mother Nature knows what she's doing. But then the reality is I could have been in Scotland and I would have been like, yeah, I'll be there tomorrow. It's fine. There's literally nothing that would have stopped me to going. I would have been like, and I'm going, it's absolutely fine. Luckily, though, we were actually near London, basically, adjacent. Yes. And so it made it very easy. And thanks to your help, some outfits were thrown together. I think we looked great.
Amazing.
So myself.
High fashion.
I would argue that we dressed better than some of the A-listers who were there, who sort of looked like they'd just thrown a suit on.
100%. Michel Visage would have told Keanu Reeves to go change.
So I think there's so many things I want to talk about. But the first thing, I guess, is the fact that we got there. So yeah, not a lot of notice. We got there, turned up, got our tickets. Very cute. I do want to say, for people who've not had this sort of experience before, which is probably most of us, including myself until last week, we turned up, you went to a little area and they gave you a gold envelope, which was,
Yes.
I didn't, so unnecessary for it to be gold, but I
Very
fucking
Charlie
loved
and the
it.
Chocolate Factory.
It was so that I got the golden ticket. And to be fair, I almost felt a bit like Charlie compared to some of the other people who'd sort of properly gone all out for it. But yeah, we got there. And what I loved was I saw the person flicking through. So they had loads of gold envelopes. And I could see, because I was stood in front of them. And there was like TikTok influencer, reality TV thing, like all these different categories of like, this is the sort of job they do. They're like a big thing, big actor, TV presenter, and mine was Sonic fan.
That is how important you are to the community. It is not about your job title. It is how much you love the community. Exactly. And that is what makes Sonic fans special in this case. Exactly. It is better than saying we're inviting them because views.
Yeah, they invited us because we get it. That was why. They were like, we need Sonic fans there. And actually, I will give so much credit to Paramount for actually inviting quite a lot of fans.
100%.
Like, people that have put in the time, put in the effort, have not upset too many people online. They all got invites. Look, you're going to cause drama. You're probably not going to get invited. So
I didn't realize I needed to bring biscuits to this tea party. But yes.
And then we got our tickets, and I remember we were walking towards the area where the premiere was, and there was these massive spotlights moving around, like up and down the buildings. And it was, I think that was a moment of realization, being like, oh, this is a proper premiere. This is like the real deal, not some like, I don't know, some posters down an alleyway. Like, this is legit.
It's so funny because we were walking from Leicester Square tube station.
Yeah.
And there was so much light. And I was like, is that it? That can't be it. There's so much going on there. What is happening? And yeah, damn. I was quite impressed. Yeah. It was quite a spectacle, we will say.
The next favourite bit I enjoyed was where the people of our status queued to go in around the corner, and we could hear them announcing all the big names, like, ladies and gentlemen, it's Keanu Reeves, and everyone was like, yes. And then once those people had come in, they then opened the cattle pen.
And allowed the herd.
That's true.
Which is quite funny. You were in front of me. You walked in, little sweep of the airport security machine thing with like the little wand. And you went by fine. And then I went to go by, and I had so many chains and trinkets and knickknacks to be like this punk rouge Disney bound, not Disney but Sonic bound cosplay type thing, that the thing beeped so much, the man looked at me and was like, too much, keep going. Like,
that's my favorite thing, the idea of being like, it's just promise me you're not going to blow up anything.
Don't kill anyone. Just go. You're holding up the line.
He saw your hat, he was like, you're not going to do anything.
Me with my horn hat.
Yeah, it's like, the most you could do is just serve the people, but
I did. I was going to death drop him, but given that I'm near 40 and my knees are gone, I figured, nah, not today.
I love the idea of you walking. So we there was this narrow point. We all had the security check, and then we sort of were just unleashed onto the blue carpet. So obviously it was blue, it's Sonic, and we were sort of the sort of corridor, I would call it, but like the pathway that we could walk down was between the celebrities and where they were being interviewed and stuff, and the rabid fans and people who wanted autographs and things signing. Yes, which I'll get to, but
hours, obviously.
Yeah,
it wanted hours.
I love the idea of you walking between there and just death drop.
Slay.
Whether people would turn around and be like, "Oh, has he had a fall?"
Some child in the background, help that old man.
Yeah, because we are at that age now where we don't fall over; we've had a fall. So I think that would happen, and then I think that we should have done that. It could have given us so much free publicity, and then you just put your hand up in the air holding a business card.
I'm okay.
I'm okay,
and I'm here to slay.
And I must admit, it was overwhelming for me, the whole experience of walking down that blue carpet, because it wasn't just walking down a busy area. It was like all the walls were like massive LCD screens with things happening, and there was loud music, and again, we're talking about spotlights. I really didn't, my brain didn't know how to process any of it. And to be honest, if we hadn't taken photos and videos, I don't think I'd remember what happened.
I would say if you had to tell me one regret from that whole evening is how quickly we sped through that part.
Yeah.
Because it was so surreal and so dreamy. And all those people, we were literally like 2 meters away from celebrities we grew up watching their movies.
Absolutely.
There was the area where they interviewed them later just to our right.
Yeah.
And we kind of like did one lovely like Wonder Woman spin with the camera. Like, oh my god, this is amazing. Let's go inside.
It's cold when we go inside.
It was freezing. Actually.
It was very cold. I think my lesson learned, which is a wild thing to say, because what other premieres am I going to take my learned lessons from? But let's manifest that happens.
100%.
Is I would actually arrive much later.
You think so?
I would not arrive when doors first opened. We were eager beavers. And I guess because we were in a group and they were like, okay, we're queuing up now. It's like we just sort of followed the group. But when we were walking through, I realized, and in retrospect, this is what I think other people did. If you turned up much later, when all the press interviews sort of finished, they sort of opened up that area more. And that's when the celebrities started going up to the fans and signing stuff.
Yes.
So we would have literally been able to walk up to Jim Carrey and be like, "Hey, bud."
Hey.
Which is
nice to see you here.
Exactly.
On set.
And for those of us who went inside the cinemas before the film screened, they were like streaming the coverage, I guess they were doing. And we saw many people who did that. There was one person, I won't say who, but there's one person who sort of walked up, I think it was Jim Carrey, walked up and sort of patted him on the shoulder and was like, and I thought he worked for Jim Carrey. And I later learned, no, that's just another influencer type person who was just feeling very bold.
Very, very bold.
Would I have done that? Absolutely not. I think I would have just become dead inside and not known how to do things. But I would have at least stared at them very closely and made them feel uncomfortable. That's probably what I would have done. But just be like, maybe less for Jim Carrey. I think Keanu Reeves, I would have been like, that's Keanu Reeves. That's wild. Because also, Keanu Reeves comes across as, in an endearing way, equally socially awkward. So, there's no way we would have interacted with each other. That would have been the most horrendous interaction. It would have just been two like awkward, bumbling people. I
would say, out of all those people there, the people who I would have I wanted to talk to, and probably would be too starstruck to say anything, or wouldn't know how to match the appropriate energy, is probably Jim Carrey first.
Yeah.
I grew up watching most of Jim Carrey's movies as a kid. My unhealthy obsession as a child was The Mask.
Yeah.
And I just wouldn't know how to express like, oh, you were my hero as a kid. Thanks, bye. Without being weird.
Yeah.
And I would have loved to explain in thorough detail to Kristen Ritter, just how much I love her.
So, full disclosure, this is,
Yes.
I mean, for both of us, I guess, but I'll speak for myself. I did not know she was in the film. So, when we saw her, you, me not realizing you were a massive fan of her,
Yeah.
there was this moment of like, wait, what?
She is here. I'm in the same space as this lady.
Like, and she looked great.
Amazing.
She looked so good.
Stunning.
I will say, this is no disrespect to anyone because get that coin, but like out of everyone, I was like, she doesn't know she doesn't understand what like she's here, she loves it. She got to work with Jim Carrey. I don't know if she fully understood what the film was, but
Okay, so I know exactly why you're saying this. It is
well,
because of her interview, right?
yeah.
Now, let me put into perspective the
Mhm.
situation. You be her right now,
Okay.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I am a very enthusiastic, maybe too enthusiastic, of an interviewer.
Okay. I'm picturing it now.
And you're picturing it. You know
Yeah.
exactly what I'm talking about. You know what I mean.
Mhm.
Um, I am being very enthusiastic, and I'm talking to you about scenes that you know nothing about because they're all CGI'd scenes that you weren't a part of. How are you going to answer me? Except for blank face, haha, yeah, change subject to the one thing you do know, your few scenes with Jim Carrey, and be like, okay, bye.
No, I mean, but I think you like if that let's flip it around and say you were in their shoes, yeah.
Yeah.
Like I feel like even now, if I put you on the spot and was like, I asked you a question, I think you could blag it quite well.
Yes, because it is in my nature to try and be over prepared in life for every single thing.
Okay, fair,
But
fair.
I understand that not everyone is like me.
Oh, fair enough. And at the end of the day, turns out very good in the film. I've been told. So
Again, hold on, sir. I am sipping some tea. It's still cold and hot.
But yeah. So
Yes,
overall, the premiere experience itself was just kind of insane. We are so grateful that we got an invite. So
we are.
thank you,
Things
thank you,
that
thank
we
you.
missed that we haven't spoken about. Free booze was amazing.
Oh yeah. So
Free booze was amazing.
yes,
That salted caramel popcorn was God's gift to mankind.
it was so good. We ate more than 2 chairs worth.
We did because people didn't take them from
Yeah.
around us, so we're like gobble gobble.
I've chipped a bit of my back tooth on that popcorn.
What? Did you really?
Yeah.
Oh my god!
On the day, I thought like this isn't. I think there's like something sharp on my back molar, and I realized, oh no, that's a bit of tooth missing. So that's great.
My god.
But to give you an idea of how good the popcorn was,
Then you kept eating it.
I opened a third bag after having experienced that. I was like, I'm going to eat more of the popcorn. Yeah, so it's very much a case of like, yeah, this is good, and it's free, and yes, free bar because we walked in, turned to where the showed our tickets. They said, "You're on the screen to the right." There was 2 screenings at the same time. Our
Yep.
screening was to the right, and they said, "Oh, go in there. Through when you go in, there's a bar." And I was like, "Oh, there's a bar in the
Yes.
cinema. That's very fancy."
Yes.
Then realizing, I can't remember what point I found out, but somewhere between being shown which screen it was and going inside, I was told, "Oh, there's the bar. It's a free bar." And I was like, "Oh, okay. We've been upgraded." Suddenly, because I thought it was like, "There's a bar. You can buy yourself a drink if you want to."
Yes.
And then it was like, "Oh no. Do you want wine? Do you want soft drinks?"
Of course. We didn't.
No.
I wanted to thoroughly remove any final shred of being timid or
Yeah.
being overwhelmed by the situation by
Yes. It did
having.
help. And I must say, we were one of the few people who went back for seconds.
It again. Thank the first beer for that. because I would have never really asked that usually. But while I was passing, they did actually ask me if I wanted something else
Oh.
because I went to the bathroom. And then while I was passing by, I looked in that direction, kind of like, maybe I will ask. And she said, "Would you like something else?" And I'm like, "Can I have another beer, please?"
Yeah.
And they were very kind, very cordial. I was congratulated, complimented. That's the word.
Mhm.
About my
Oh,
Rouge
yes.
T-shirt.
Yes,
Yes,
I fully embraced
it
it.
was a vibe, and it was very much me manifesting a unforeseen appearance of Rouge during the movie. That is
Yes.
specifically why I wore it.
Yes. We were trying to manifest a bit.
Yes.
Um,
For
I
the
w-
audience that doesn't know me, I am a living personification of Rouge in the
yes,
terms of appeal,
yes, and you like shiny
swag.
things.
I like shiny things.
You
I
like
go
shiny
for the
things.
shiny, cutesy, leathery look. I like that.
Um, so yeah, it's just really a really awesome experience. I'm so glad that's the way got to introduce ourselves to this film.
Yes.
Amazing. I also want to give a context. Well, one, if you're listening and you're at this point, everything beyond this point is going to get really spoilery. So if you don't want spoilers, if you have not watched the film, I cannot stress this enough. Stop listening. Don't remove the episode. Keep the episode. Stop listening. Go watch the film. Come back. Listen. And then it will
Yes.
all make sense because I don't spoil it for yourself. Crazy. Don't do that. And do not share spoilers because people who do that are weird. So, don't like it. Don't do it. So you've been given your warning. This is your moment to consent to spoilers, okay? If you do not consent, please leave. The first thing I want to say before I talk about the movie itself is I think it's
Yes.
quite interesting as well, is that we have two very different experiences of being a Sonic fan or a fan
100%.
of the Sonic the Hedgehog. And I think it provides two very interesting different lenses to which we both watch the film.
Yes.
I'll give context myself for those who may have never listened to me before. I am Europe's biggest Sonic fan. I don't talk about it a lot. I never mention it. I never talk about it.
Uh-huh.
But to get a title like that from Sega Europe, because it is legit, and it's never been challenged since, so it's still my title. I'm still reigning queen, as it were. You have to be quite into Sonic, and in the sense that I lived in the UK, and I think a lot of people who grew up around the 90s in the UK will also appreciate the fact that Sonic had a much larger presence than Mario in terms of media, in terms of merchandise. Obviously, Mario was still super popular, obviously, but in terms of pop culture, I would say Sonic was pushed far, far, far more. And from that point on, that means it's always been much more ingrained in me, literally from the 90s, because I am of that age. We don't want to talk about that. So my whole life has been very much, Sonic through and through.
Yep.
Your experience is different in
Very
terms of
different.
growing up with video
Yes.
games and such.
I I come from Malta, tiny island in the middle of the Mediterranean, and we had a very big influence of Italian culture. And as you can imagine, the stores and everything leaned a lot more towards the Italian American plumber rather than Sonic. We still had some Sonic merch, um, in gaming stores and so on and so forth.
Mhm.
But I would say it was never really given that push in popularity. It wasn't something you would see on TV advertised versus Mario, which was. It was seen in TV shows and so on and so forth. I never really seen much of Sonic. I knew it existed. Um, yeah, I got more involved in the art community side of it when I started doing illustration work full time as one of the artists I worked with. mostly only did Sonic stuff. And I learned what I knew up until um, this year through her. She is a wonderful Spanish artist who kind of stopped doing that kind of work because she now full time runs her family's gaming shop. So hopefully she's still enjoying Sonic in her own way.
Yeah.
But yes, I know Sonic from the aesthetic side and from the arty side, being a part of the art community, being a part of SonicCon UK, and just enjoying the visual without having the upbringing, so to
Yeah.
speak.
And what I like about that, I think, and it brings what I like about the contrast in the two views you'll hear from today, is that I can't deny my bias. Like,
Mm-hmm.
Sonic can break wind, and I'm like, amazing. Round of applause. Good job, everyone. Whereas I like the fact that you can bring a bit more of an objective view to
Mm-hmm.
stuff because you love Sonic, you adore Shadow, for example, but
Yes,
at the same time, you don't have that sort of like childhood
exactly.
nostalgia to influence your opinion.
Exactly.
So I think this film could have been anything, and I would have liked it.
Yes. While I, as you know from my opinion on the first two movies,
Yes.
I
So
am a little bit more critical.
we definitely went into this, and I was much more hot on the first two than I would say you were. There's so much to cover in this film. Like it literally goes all over the place, which is kind of wild. I think if we start right from the very well, one key thing I want to talk about this whole
Mhm.
thing, which I think is a thing that people are going to want to know, and it's a question I repeatedly kept having, is the humans. Because
Yes.
every time people talk about this film, it's about why are there so many humans in it? Are there too many humans in it? Why are we dealing with human characters?
Mhm.
And I want to rest assured anyone before we even talk about plot in any great detail that I think this has one of the better balances of all three films.
Mhm.
Personally, I think the first one was way too heavy on human characters. It was fast,
Yeah.
like, and I get it. They were introducing things. The second one sort of played around with the idea more. I do think the human characters, for the most part, only appeared when they were necessary for key plot points, and they actually were relevant to the plot.
Mhm.
And I much appreciated that. I think it was very good, very good.
Yes.
Um, do you think? Well, one, how do you feel about that sort of balance they're making, and do you
Mhm.
think it? Do we feel that's sort of a trajectory they're going to push further?
So I described the three movies to you
Mm-hmm.
as the first one is essentially Ted the movie without naughty stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and essentially it is more the character is there to make the main human look good,
Yeah,
right? Which is sad because it's not really a Sonic movie. It's
no,
just a let's make money out of the Sonic fans while creating a family movie.
yeah,
The second movie is the one that I liked the least because it was the formula was so unbalanced in it's not a human movie, it's not quite a Sonic movie because it felt like a foreign team making a movie for a subject that they're not fully familiar with, which I know is not the case,
mm-hmm.
but it did feel very much like the Ninja Turtle movies,
Mm-hmm.
where yes, we are visually seeing the characters, but I'm not getting what I want from it, what I
Yeah,
want to see. This movie, I would say, it obviously still shows Jim Carrey through a lot of it.
yes,
That said, he is the one human you actually want to see in a Sonic movie.
yes,
The other characters, a lot less visible there, I've said this to you before. I do think that some of them are there purely because of contractual agreements. They had to be in at least one scene so the studio doesn't get a spank up the bum. And beyond that, it felt, unfortunately, that meant that they were written in kind of haphazardly, which is very sad because why have them at all rather than just have them for the sake of having them?
Yeah. So I found I like the general implementation of most of the characters, and
Hmm.
for I guess across the whole film, the key thing, and it's been a theme throughout all the films, but I think it's done
Hmm.
best here, which is Sonic's relationship with Tom, Donut
Yes.
Lord, and Maddie, who is just an amazing character. Well,
We
she's an
can
amazing
just
actress.
keep her. I'm
Yes.
happy with just Eggman and Maddie and
Yeah.
no one else.
Yeah.
Like everyone else can fizzle away after this movie. I needed Agent Stone to be in this movie, but
Yes.
after this movie, now he can go.
So
Everyone else can go.
it's
But Maddie.
interesting because with the human characters, I think when you look at them all villainous characters, so Ivo Robotnik, now Gerald Robotnik, as well as Agent Stone, I think because they're really played, they are caricatures, they are basically cartoon characters in themselves.
Yeah.
I think those work more. I think the more down to earth characters, like Tom,
Yeah.
sometimes it's a. I get why he's there. He's there to bring like an emotional grounding, but at the same time,
Okay. In the context of the trilogy,
yeah,
I think this movie would not have been emotionally gripping if Tom wasn't in it. Like, if the trilogy didn't have Tom, then the whole premise of this movie would have been a bit null,
agreed.
right? However, in the first movie, he was there a little bit too much. In the second movie, he was there, but he went from like the sidekick hero to I'm the joke.
Yeah,
And in this one, he appeared, looked really dumb.
yeah.
His
I think they sort of
veterinarian
all the characters
girlfriend
had
can do the
a
same skills and
arc,
tasks that
and I
her
feel like he has
sheriff
completed his.
husband or
100%.
boyfriend can
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
So he
So
obviously has no better skill, and if anything, he actually failed the one thing he did. And kind of sad. But that said, he is very relevant to the story up to this point, which is weird. Past this point, we don't need him. It just feels a little bit strange to me that they want to kind of like adopt Sonic. I get it because he's lonely on another world and he's kind of a little kid and it's sweet and blah blah blah. But it got a little bit strange in parts.
yeah.
That said, she actually does play a very good mothering role.
Yes.
And without her, I think there would be something missing,
I can see that. I can agree with that.
right? Because she actually does add to the story. Oh, also because I didn't mention it before, we need more Kristen Ritter. Okay,
Okay.
bye.
So
Keep going.
there are some human characters that I think add less to the story. Let's go through those. Um,
Let's start with.
I'm gonna blow your mind now.
Yes.
The characters who play Rachel and Randall, so
Yes.
Maddie's sister and fiance, husband. I've only
Yes.
watched it once.
I don't think they actually got married.
They
Like,
didn't, did
didn't it?
they?
They stopped mid ceremony, didn't they?
So I'm guessing from my memory, they sort of did imply that they would stay together, maybe.
Yes.
So I guess that has happened.
Yeah. Well.
I would say this is a great example of terrible character implementation because
Yes.
going on your logic that maybe these characters were just contractually obliged to do a third one.
Yep.
It was so shoehorned in
Yep.
because Tails has these little devices that you can wear on your collar. When you poop it, you boop it. You turn in, you magically have the most convincing hologram you've ever seen in your life of a 3D hologram of another human being.
Yes.
And in this case, to get into Gun's base, they are going to use these hologram devices to look like Randall and
Mm-hmm.
Rachel.
Yeah.
Questions I have, and again, we've only watched this one for context. We haven't watched it more than once, so we're doing our best to remember based on that one
Yes.
viewing. One, okay, we'll assume Randall still works for Gunn. That's how he
Mm-hmm.
gets in.
Mm-hmm.
Does Rachel now work for Gunn?
Apparently.
Apparently, because
And she has more say than he does.
yeah. Um, so that was kind of weird and confusing.
Yes.
And they do a bit of scenes of like getting in the building. It adds nothing. It adds nothing, and it's a shame because the Rachel character in the second film is one of my favorite characters because the comedian who plays her is such a funny woman, and she just plays
Yeah.
her role in the second film of being this like bitter, angry woman whose wedding's been ruined.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, like even from the scenes like where in the second film where she sort of drives in a golf cart, does like a weird drift turn, steps off it as it falls in with a big explosion behind her. Wild, love it, queen, slay, great. But they really underused her in this third film, and it made me really sad. Oh, it
Yeah.
made me a sad panda.
I feel like you said, she was underused, but also I'm just conscious that they just wanted less human time in it,
Yeah,
and she could have been in it as a background character to support Maddie, or to be like, yeah, I got you, girl. I'll help you do this. Fuck
yeah,
it,
yeah.
right? And be like ride or die, be in a scene for like 2 minutes, and that's it. Because she
Because
still was in it only for literally 3 minutes. 3 minutes,
.3 minutes
4 minutes.
because of the way the setup of the premise. It meant that the only character she got to bounce off of was the Randall character. She didn't really get
Yep.
to interact with, so it just felt like a missed opportunity.
Yep.
Other human characters, which I'm fascinated to see what your thoughts are, is the Gun new arrival, director Rockwell, played by Kristen.
I feel I do have opinions. Like you, I have bias, right?
Yes.
I obviously have bias because I do like her. I like her as an actress,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like she wasn't given a lot to work with, to be fair. We know absolutely nothing about this character aside from she is like the second in command to the old man whose name I literally do not care to know. He was so unimpressive in all three movies,
Yeah.
and the way he died, exclamation point, we don't know. Um, it was very like, oh, I got injured, ugh, croaked. Like it was
Yeah.
the most unimpressive acting I have ever seen. I've seen people on TikTok do their first TikTok and be better actors. Shocking. But that aside,
You said it. I said
that aside, right?
it.
She was his second in command,
Mhm.
and that is pretty much everything we know. Um, was she meant to be a bad person? Was she meant to be the person who kept Gerard imprisoned and made him do the crab, giant crab missile thing? Uh, is I don't know. Like, what the frick is her involvement in anything? She was just there looking like Slay, because she looked great in that uniform.
Yeah.
And she had two scenes, and that's it. One of them kind of contradicted the other
Mhm.
because she went to fetch the key
Mhm.
from her first in command,
Yeah.
and she's like, "I knew they would betray us." Who betrayed you though? Did he betray you, or did the hedgehog betray you?
Yeah. It was a
It
bit.
that was unclear, right? And then when she showed up again in the base,
Mhm.
it was very unclear what her motive actually was. It was so vague. Everything was vague. Kristen did her best, okay? I do think in future movies she might be the gun contact basically. Even if they're against it, I still think she would be like the recurring person in charge of gun.
I think going forward, if they need to have gun representation, she will be the character that they use.
Yes.
Especially, I feel like potentially they were setting her up with this idea of maybe gun aren't to be trusted all the time. In which case, that I feel like that's where the character was sort of heading.
Yeah.
Maybe setting that up to be like a
And
they are
maybe that's
here,
why she was so vague.
yeah. But I guess it makes me think about so we talk about all these human characters, and again, some are amazing, uh, some less so. It
I am waiting for you to mention something in particular.
go go on.
You can't move away from talking about human characters without talking about Wade.
Ah, fucking Wade. Fuck's sake. Makes me so right. Okay, okay. Just need to
Okay.
take a moment. Just need to breathe.
Breaths, breaths, breaths. Serenity now. Serenity now. Yep.
We're peace. We're fine. Okay, let's go. So, all these human characters all have their moments, and the one thing that I think the human characters do seem to have the most relevancy in this film is for what I would call very lowbrow humor, very basic humor. It's the humor of LOL, isn't this silly? That's the joke. Like there is not necessarily punchline. It's just the most basic jokes. And you know what? It's a family film. I get it. It's so fine, whatever. But for the most part, I think this film, bar a few scenes, gets it mostly right. I think they don't lean into it too much. It's very withheld.
Mhm.
But there are a few exceptions where they really lean into it. And the one that bothers me most. So, guys, if you've seen the film, which you better have, if you've listened to this and you haven't seen the film, I don't know what you're doing. Please stop. But there is good character development in this. There is really good character development in this movie, and Sonic has some character growth, has a major character growth in the second half of the film. Tails is there. Tails is also just, Tails is being Tails, and we love
Tails
Tails.
is there.
Yeah.
That's as good as it gets.
Yeah. We'll get to Shadow, but oh my goodness. Then there's Knuckles. And Knuckles doesn't have a lot of big scenes, but there is one scene which, as a long-time Sonic fan, just meant a lot because, yes, Knuckles is the guardian of the Master Emerald. And in this film, the scene where Sonic basically is, I need that Master Emerald. And he's not thinking correctly. He's not in the right frame of mind. He wants the Master Emerald. And Knuckles, being the guardian, the lead guardian, I would say, says, I can't let you have it. I cannot let you have this because you're not thinking right. And it's my duty to protect it. And he basically starts off saying, I'm going to fight you. I'm going to fight you to protect this thing because you will use it for bad intent. And it gets quite heated. And I'm like, oh shit, what's going to happen? Crazy. Tails is getting a bit upset about the whole situation. And then Knuckles takes a moment, thinks, and basically says, I don't think this is the right decision, but I did promise we'd always be a team. So therefore, that's what's important. That's what comes first. So I will allow you to have it, but do not mistake this as me endorsing it. It's me
Which is
being loyal to you.
the biggest form of character growth that movie has seen.
They then, so you think, oh my goodness, he's going to have the Master Emerald. He was going to fight him to the death for it. Well, not to the death, because Knuckles wouldn't do that. But big fight, but he lets him have this precious thing, this thing that can let these characters turn. Ooh, sorry, gassy then. Let these characters... this moment where he can grab this emerald, it will let you turn into the most fiercest, powerful being on this planet and probably many other planets. And where is this fucking emerald? It is being played. It's being used as a hockey puck on the roof of a building by fucking Wade, and it boils my piss because It's absolutely infuriating because it undermines everything that just happened with Knuckles. It undermines the whole character growth because apparently Knuckles doesn't actually give a shit about the Master Emerald because he's letting his apprentice Wade be a fucking twat and play hockey with it and just scoot it around. And like, it's not a solid joke. It's not a strong laugh. So it's completely. Again, I feel like it exists because they had to have Wade in the film for
Yep,
literally a minute.
yep,
So I think
100%.
their desire to do this, what I guess they interpret as family comedy, really to me undermines a really important part of the film, and I feel quite impassioned about it.
I fully agree. The reason why I don't like the first two movies as much, apologies to everyone who doesn't agree with that opinion, it's because it is full of these like Seth Rogen haha moments, and they're not really haha for everyone. They're haha for an American audience. They are haha for what we in conventions call the normies.
Wow.
Wow. Facts. But there is actually no intellect in this humor. There is no purpose for it. It is just a way to um, undermine, make fun of something by undermining something else
Yeah.
without any wit.
Yeah.
And it just didn't offer anything other than it is such a intense moment. Sonic is shaking with rage. He is ready to laser-eyed fuck out of
Yeah.
Wade if he doesn't move, right? And Wade's like, I'm having a little play. Oh no, you can have it. It's fine. Bye.
Yeah.
It is absolutely ridiculous.
And they just repeatedly, again, it's more a problem in the previous two films, but it's just a shame that these moments sort of undermine. I think it's because it undermines to me a key moment of character development, and one of the bits that is so strong in this film
Hmm.
to undo it like that. But while that's my least favorite, what I would call comedic bit,
Yeah,
that I think took me out of it because in that whole scene I was just like, well, that was
yeah.
just dumb.
Hmm.
It's not you. It's not the one that took you out the most.
No, no. I would say that there were 3 points in the movie that kind of made me feel like meh, whatever. The rest, it is a however long the movie is. I didn't look at my watch. I was too impressed by it. Um, an hour and a bit maybe of pure fucking awesome, except for 3 moments. One where the general man was like, got hit by a thing, dead. Pathetic. So stupid. It's just dumb. I know it's a kids movie, but that's just dumb. Um, the Wade thing, second place.
Mhm.
The third, the most important, like the worst, was mission engage. We're getting into it. We're like at the peak of the movie. Let's have yet another dance off that makes absolutely no fucking sense. It is just breaking the pace of another movie just so we have some funny promotional material to put in the trailers.
It
Please
did.
stop.
It did feel like a scene that existed consciously because how it could be promoted.
I have to ask, is there a very important thing that I am missing from the Sonic universe? That Sonic and Tails are obsessed with dancing. Is
Not
there Dance
really.
Dance Revolution type games about this?
Not no.
So what is the point of inserting a dance scene in every Sonic movie? Like it isn't even it's not even funny, it's just boring to look at.
I feel like I don't know. Maybe there was something. I feel like the challenge of doing that scene was more interesting than whether it was actually good to watch.
I think they had a lot of fun
Making it.
making it, yeah, like you said. also it's kind of silly that they kept shifting the camera between Ivo,
Ivo.
Ivo's eyes and Jared's eyes, and whoever was supposed to be wearing the belly suit wasn't always wearing it. And it was like their bodies were kind of doing
It's just
some
shifting.
shape shifting moments of, oh, you probably should have been wearing the stomach bit for that shot, but you didn't.
Yeah,
But also, that wasn't the only moment that I caught during the movie that things were not there when they should be there.
yeah,
When Tom had the thing, the um, Tails gadget,
yeah.
it always appeared under color,
Except when it was inconvenient for the plot.
except for when he was talking to Kristen Ritter's character, where all of a sudden the one person who would clock him, that was gone for that scene.
Yeah,
And then exactly like a second later, when he turns around, it's there again.
yeah. So
It's like, hmm,
I will need to watch it again, but
yeah.
I'm pretty certain it wasn't a case of, oh, it's just out of shot so the viewer doesn't
Oh no,
doesn't
no, it
clock.
was
It was
missing.
fully intentionally not there, because otherwise if it was visibly there, the other character would have been like, it was intentionally removed so they could do the reveal, which I was like, bit cheap. But
But it was there like a second prior.
it's it's wild. I think, again, we've talked about it a lot. I think the key takeaway is, compared to the first two, it's so minimal. Maybe because it's so minimal is why it stands out more, because it's such a sharper contrast to the rest of the tone of the film.
Yes.
Because if we compare it to the tone of our baby boy Shadow,
Mm-hmm. Who does
which
no wrong
who does no wrong in the film,
at all. Yeah.
I from the first trailer, I knew it would be good. And they have done his character, in my eyes, such justice. They have done so good. They have, I think, interestingly, bringing the backstory of Shadow into the films was a necessary move, because I think it brought a new tone to the films that
Yeah.
I really enjoyed. I think, I forget her name. Unfortunately, it's not in front of me. Apologies, everyone listening. The person who played Maria, I
Mm-hmm.
think, did a great job as well. Again,
Fantastic.
really good, faithful to the movies, but at the same time making it work in this movie universe, so it didn't feel out of
Yeah.
place. I think the character development of Shadow throughout the film is really good. I think Keanu did a really solid job.
Mm-hmm.
I think he played the character one how I think people expected him to, which is fair.
Mm-hmm.
But it is an interesting thing, because out of all the other characters are very loud, very chaotic,
Yes.
very cartoonish.
Yes.
But Keanu doesn't, in this film anyway, play it the same way. He plays it
Mm-hmm.
much more subdued and subtle.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe because he's a better actor, I don't know. But there are peaks and valleys to his mood. When he's
Mm-hmm.
angry, he's angry. When he's hurt by something, you can tell in the voice of the character. I found you could tell in the voice of the character what's going on behind his words. Like, you could sort of almost sense a sort of like turmoil and pain,
Mm-hmm.
which is wild for a Sonic movie. Wild things to be saying about a Sonic movie where the first one was like, gotta go fast. I think he did an amazing job. I think Keanu delivered. I don't know how
I
you.
love that you keep saying I think because you're wanting me to jump in. But I will say, yes, when we watched it like literally a week today,
Yeah,
we were in that theater right now. How crazy.
that is wild.
Um I thought that at times it kind of sounded like he was holding a little bit too much back, right?
Okay.
However, having considered the character himself, right?
Yes.
More so because of people's reactions, really. You explained to me last night when we were kind of having a little bit of a chit chat about this,
Hmm.
and you said, maybe it's because of how he compares with the others,
Hmm.
but also like whenever you see someone hug Shadow, there's always that apprehension of, oh, what do I do?
Yeah.
Whenever you see someone say something nice to Shadow in the games, there's always that apprehension of how do I react.
Yeah.
So I need to keep in mind that even though I have built up Shadow in my head to be this perfect being that kicks all the ass in all factors of life,
Hmm.
he is still an emotionally immature being that
Yeah.
doesn't know how to express himself,
Yeah.
even in the feelings he is feeling. And I think Keanu got that before I did. And that is the representation of everything is subdued because he doesn't quite know how to let it out outside of punching the shit out of it.
Yeah. Because you compare it to Sonic. Sonic's character in the movie, and I love this, so it's not a critique, but Sonic's character in these movies is LOL, pop culture reference, I like chili dogs. Woohoo. It's basically an easy way to summarize a lot.
Hmm.
And there is more character depth behind that, but the character at the forefront is very one liner, banter, gotta go fast. You compare that to Shadow's character, which is the only family I ever had tragically died, and then I was put in stasis for 50 years, and I have not had no time to process the trauma of that. All I want is revenge. It's such a different energy to the
A bit. It's just a bit.
it's just a
It's just
bit
a little
different.
bit
A little
different.
bit different.
What do you
Uh,
mean?
so, Sonic's like, oh, aren't we all having a great time? Let's race with my family and friends. And Shadow's like, I had a friend. She got blown up. Like,
I had a friend once.
and Sonic has never had to deal really, because even with Longclaw at the first film,
Hmm.
which is a whole other thing, because she sort of takes an arrow and she's like, well, I'm not going to see how this pans out. Off you go. Um, and he sort of obviously has processed losing that mother figure, but at the same time, it's sort of all done, mostly done off screen, so it's not
Hmm.
part of his on-screen character development. It's just like, this is the woman who raised me when I was a child. I miss her.
Hmm.
Um,
What is worth understanding as well is that what we are led to believe is that when the thing happens with Maria,
hmm,
he is put into stasis more or less right away
yeah,
because he's deemed a danger,
yeah,
right? So in Shadow's mind, as such, he just went to sleep and woke up again.
yeah. This happened yesterday for him,
This
basically.
happened yesterday.
Yeah,
I would imagine that that very much feels like when you're upset about something, when
mm-hmm.
you're grieving something, regardless of what it is,
Mm-hmm.
and you have a sleep, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like you've processed it all in your dream,
Yeah,
and then you wake up and you feel worse than before because you realize that that was not processed at all. That is still happening. You're still in it. You're still feeling shit. It's still there. The pain is still there. The person is still missing. And it amplifies everything. So all that rage that Shadow shows throughout the movie is
yeah,
so real, so something we can relate to, even though it happened in obviously in a very dramatic way,
yes,
right? But it is a feeling that we can all understand.
yeah. I think it's a very relatable feeling. I think
Hmm.
it shows a lot about his loss. Uh, I think it's a loss that a lot of people will be able to relate to. How you deal with that, especially when, in your eyes at least, there's a very obvious person to blame for that. I think, and how do you deal with that? Which, in Shadow's case, is to get a gun and ride a motorbike, and just
Well,
look
that's one
really
way.
fucking cool while you do it.
That's one way of dealing with. healthy healthy therapy.
Exactly. So he processes it very differently. And Sonic doesn't have that, which is interesting because Sonic doesn't have that dilemma that Shadow clearly has until this very movie.
Hmm.
And if we go back to the scene, refer back to the scene we're talking about with the wild misuse of holograms and weird things.
Hmm.
Yes, Tom, Donut Lord, uses the hologram to make himself look like the commander, to boss your favorite character, the director,
The best.
away, and turns around, still using the hologram, and Shadow's there. And Shadow's like, "You're the reason Maria died. Finally, here's my time for revenge." Does his little revenge poop. Poop.
Revenge poop.
Just revenge. Yeah, revenge poop. It's a wild film. Does his revenge boop, I should say, and
Mhm.
suddenly, whoopsie daisy, hologram falls down. It's Tom.
Yes.
What? And conveniently, it's at that point that Sonic shows up.
Yes.
And
It is important to note though the horrified with his own actions.
oh yes, so yes, Shadow clearly has that moment of like, this wasn't my plan. This wasn't my
Hmm.
intention. I didn't mean to do this.
Yep.
Obviously, Shadow, I think that realization quickly afterwards, but
Hmm.
I can't worry about this because
Yep.
my trauma is still not resolved. So I'm not
Yep.
gonna, and also in a weird way, I think I maybe in a way of almost justifying it to himself, sort of goes, well, that's now you know how I feel.
Yep. I'm pretty sure that's literally
I
what he
think
said.
that's a line from the film actually.
Exactly.
So, and now Sonic has to deal basically with what Shadow is dealing with,
Hmm.
and I think this is possibly one of the most interesting and well done bits of character development for Sonic.
Yeah.
I think it's the first time, because the characters have always been under threat. They've always been sort of, what's going to happen? Oh no, Sonic's worried about them. But this is the first time it's like, oh, Tom might be dead. In that moment, Tom could be dead,
Hmm.
and all that rage that Sonic was trying to talk Shadow out of numerous times, being like, we don't have to do it this way. Suddenly, Sonic is faced with the same situation, and he can't live by his own morals. Basically, the message he was trying to communicate to Shadow of being like, I know you're in pain, but we can talk this out. I can help you. When he has
Yeah.
to deal with that himself,
Yep.
suddenly it's much easier said than done.
Yes. Oh, I love that. That is so justice. It's always the people who tell you to calm down that are the ones that can't calm
Calm
down.
down. And I love it. I really love it. I think it's
Yeah.
so necessary for his character. I think it shows a side of Sonic that we haven't seen before in the films. I'm really grateful for it. Unfortunately, it does lead to the fucking Wade scene.
It does.
Wild and
It
unnecessary.
is. It is unnecessary because you just had Tom collapse, Shadow shocked that he almost murdered a innocent person,
Yeah.
which unlike the games, as far as I know, he was a lot more, oh, I will burn everything.
Yeah.
But he actually felt, he second guessed himself after that
Yeah.
for a moment. Then Sonic turns up. He sorry, Sonic fans, is a total hypocrite in that scene. And then he's like, "Oh my god, I'm shake raging. I am about to beat the shit out of something. It's
Yeah.
got to be Shadow."
Yeah.
Goes outside. Tails is the let's keep it positive friend that
Yeah.
you always love, but at the same time you want to be the one pushing them off the cliff sometimes.
Yeah. I was
Um,
about to say that's the friend I am, but maybe not if I'm the one that gets pushed off the cliff.
There's moments to be positive, okay? And Knuckles is his first reaction is like, "What do you mean you want my emerald? I'm gonna beat the fuck out of you." He
Yeah,
tried to get close to it,
yeah,
and then it's like, "Actually, you're kind of not worth it.
yeah,
You can have it.
yeah,
You're making the bad decision. This is obviously a bad choice. You're going to regret it. But I'm just going to be there to pick up the pieces. I'm conscious of it." And that's how much of a good friend I am.
yeah,
And it is the most emotionally mature thing said out of everyone in
yeah,
that entire movie.
yeah,
And it comes from the meathead, and I'm fucking here for it.
yeah, yeah.
And then after it's wah, wah, wait. So much build up just to see Wade
Yeah,
is horrific.
it's
But again, it's also a way for them to de-stress because there was so much going on.
see, I get it, and like yes, because you do have to give the audience a moment to breathe.
Yes,
Um, so I get it from a pacing point of view. I totally understand it. I still don't like it.
I don't think we will ever like it because we were full on engaged in the emotional turmoil of it.
Yeah,
That said, I do think that perhaps other people, and this is me trying to play devil's advocate.
yeah,
I
yeah.
would not have done it that way, obviously, but I am not a producer. Sad. I should be, maybe. But uh, they obviously wanting to keep the rating of the
Yeah,
movie to still be
mm,
children friendly.
yeah,
They cannot have the tension just keep getting more and more and more without having points of relaxing it. That
yeah.
said, there could have been ways how to do that better.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
even Wade giving the crystal to Sonic could have still been funny, but not ruin it.
Yeah, I feel like yeah, that I think there could be ways to do it that because if anyone who's watched the Knuckles show will know that Wade as a character, because he's the primary character in the Knuckles show, goes on his own little character development from beginning to end. And I feel like the character at the end of the Knuckles show, while still being a bit goofy, would appreciate the importance of the Master Emerald. And for some reason, that character development is not in the film, which is a
Sad.
choice. But yeah, so Sonic, he's a pissy bitch now. He's not happy,
Yeah. Yeah.
and he gets the Master Emerald and he goes super. And then what unfolds is crazy, amazing scenes.
Amazing.
Before I get into them, though, I really want to, because I think we've had a conversation about this before, and I really want to talk about it, which is an observation you sort of had more so than me, because I think you're a lot more aware of maybe the visual side and the cinematography of stuff, which was the way you talked about how the action is done in these
Hmm.
films compared to the previous two. And
Yes.
again, I think it's because you have a wider breadth of genre knowledge in terms of movies and TV shows and stuff.
Hmm.
Because it is different, isn't it? It's so different
It is.
between the third one.
It is. So in the first two movies, I noticed that they were leaning towards the same animation style and the same action style when it comes to Sonic in particular,
Yeah.
um, that they use for Quicksilver, Flash, both in the DC movies
Mm,
and in the CW series.
yeah.
A lot of things are the same. The running with the electric trail in the background, um, the slow motion with the quirky little pranks, in just whoop-de-doo going at my own pace, and then suddenly everything goes at the regular pace again, and everyone's like,
It's even the same
"It's
in
me,
terms
Dave."
of the inconsistency of how speed works. Because even in
Yes.
the Sonic scene, which is and uh, in comparison to the Quicksilver scene, it does a very similar thing where like some things react very dynamically to being moved
Yeah.
in slow motion. Some things are solid as, and something like it's very
Yeah,
all
it is
over the
very
place.
inconsistent, and it is indeed. Um, that said, in the current movie, the animation is a lot more focused on the grandiose element of the action,
Mhm.
where you, we discussed this before, and you very eloquently pointed out that um, in the first one and the second one, the action is more based as if a real life cameraman was there and he was filming someone who's wearing a suit and doing like
Yeah,
green screen work. And that in itself is limiting. And it's also kind of seen that done that,
yeah,
even with, especially with the Speedster, because they are things that have been done by other Speedster characters in cinema,
yeah,
and they're not offering anything new
yeah.
whatsoever.
And I think with it, I understand it from the perspective of the why people do it, because they people film things like that because they want to make the camera work feel more grounded in reality, which I guess
Yes.
is from the approach of making it feel more believable. Maybe is probably the
Yeah,
intention, because if big things move around, then the camera would shake, things like that.
exactly.
However, and I feel this is the change that I noticed going into the
Mm.
third film, was they just fully embrace the fact that these are two basically magical hedgehogs with crazy powers, and like, why
Mhm.
do we have to be grounded in reality? Why not just
Exactly.
fully go in and just embrace the chaos, Emerald? Oh, they
Exactly.
all,
And they did all these action sequences with skewed angles where you're seeing, I don't know, Sonic come in for a punch while the camera is angled behind Shadow's shoulder. Um, they're very like comic book esque, almost very anime, without um, falling into tricks where like, oh, they're going so fast, let's do a quick camera shake so we don't actually have to define the action. Everything was crystal clear, everything was on point. The budget, the animation, the people working on that animation knew exactly what they were doing, and they made these scenes, especially anything related to the highway chase, which I still attribute certain elements looking very much like Advent Children, Final Fantasy VII Advent
yes,
Children.
yes,
Gave me that vibe, gave me Matrix chase scene,
mhm,
but times 10. It looked so good.
yeah,
Um, and the space fight where they're both like souped up, hyped up, and just going at it, and everything just looked grand and detailed and aesthetic. That is something else that is very different in this movie to me. That um, the scenes that counted with shadow in them, they
mm,
had the right aesthetic colors.
yeah,
They had, when he was feeling alone and sad and detached. He had the everything kind of like in blues and grays
yeah,
and ashy.
yeah,
In those high energy moments where he is full of action and full of rage, everything is kind of black with some highlights and mostly red tones. It those scenes were planned so well, and
yeah.
I feel it is such a massive step up from the previous two movies, which is why I said in my non-spoiler review,
Plug,
plug in
plug.
my plug plug in my Instagram, ding. Um, I feel like the first two movies, especially the first one, they went in it with the intent of having a nice family movie with some action that the kids will love and the parents will find humorous.
Yeah,
This movie, they went in mind with, this is potentially, possibly, maybe, I don't know, the last one of the trilogy. Whatever goes wrong.
yeah,
Fuck it. We're going to go 200% into the fact that this is a Japanese IP. These characters are made from a gaming element. We need to go all out in this gaming universe. Because if we screw it up now, we will never get this chance again.
Yeah. And I think
And
one moment that really showed that for me was that they were really just embracing the video games and this. They were like, let's not, this isn't grounded in reality. Let's just fully lean in. Was, again, how dramatic just the animation and the fight scene was at the end. But
mhm,
then also the fact that on top of all that, they decided to score it with Live and Learn,
mhm,
where I lost my mind a little bit briefly.
yeah,
Because I think it was just, you would never, the first film would never have even gone near where they
no,
went towards the end of this film.
yeah, yeah,
They
yeah,
would have never have dreamt it. They were so wanting to, I guess, make their own identity, maybe.
mhm,
Whereas this one thought, this is what people want. Let's fully go into it, and
yeah,
I think it paid off very, very well. I was very, very happy. I think anyone around me could tell that I was quite excited by that whole scene. It was just a cool scene as well. This is
yeah,
the only time that Shadow and Sonic have properly actually had a fight that's canon. And I was like, yes, absolutely yes,
yeah,
100% yes.
yes. And I feel like it maybe was spoiled for you a little bit that the song was going to be there
Yeah,
when uh, Johnny from
Johnny.
Crush 40 apparently hadn't signed an NDA and was like, I'm going to go online and brag. Which, power to him, you
Yes,
know what I mean?
so fair.
But when you heard it,
Yeah, I thought, oh, I guess
that's
it's just a
it.
cute Easter egg, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And
Which I think was intentional. I think they almost did that to misdirect you.
see, I think they wanted to lay it up as it's going to be his theme,
Hmm.
more so because Maria used to play it to him,
Yeah,
right?
which is a
And
wild
and
song lyrically for a young girl to play. Live and learn, hanging on the edge of tomorrow.
to be
Like,
fair, she didn't sing the song. She
also
just
true.
played the lyric,
Yes,
the melody,
also
right?
true. Yes.
So maybe it is Shadow singing the song,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Uh, but that's so funny. This child is like, I'm experienced, boy. um, but yeah, when the actual song played, when those first few guitar moments hit,
Mm,
even I did not grow up listening to that soundtrack
yeah.
all day, every day.
Yeah.
It just it's so powerful. It just hits in such the right moment
Yeah.
that I didn't even realize it was that song. I
Yeah.
was like, "Holy fuck! This track is like hitting hard right now," and you're over there in the seat next to me, like, "Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god!" I'm like, "Oh, he's really enjoying this rock song. Fuck yeah!" And then you explain, like, "Oh, now I get
It
it." But
was.
it was fire. It was such a good moment.
I think it really helped tie. I think the perfect way to end like your final big scene of the film, your big fight scene. I think it scored it perfectly. I think it rounded up everything that fans have been wanting for 3 films. I think it was a beautiful way, if it was the final film, to sort of tie a bow in it, and I was really grateful for that. And then even after that, they, which I wasn't expecting, was how they sort of effectively concluded the character of Ivo Robotnik, where
Mm-hmm.
so even this character has a full, one of the more zany characters has a full emotional arc and says, right, I don't want to destroy existence. I wanted to rule it. So if I can't rule it, I'm going to save it. And
Mm-hmm.
gives their life away, which is insane. But then also,
I literally got chills just you explaining it again now. And in that theater, I was like, oh, so
and
good.
Agent Stone finally gets validation.
Yes, baby. Or baby.
And I believe someone may have hit the feels a bit.
Not me. I was. I was Agent Stone Cold.
You just laughed and went, "Ha, loser."
Feelings, lol, who needs them? No, it was the moment where I actually got misty-eyed. It is an immensely relatable feeling, especially as um, a gay man of a different generation, where we knew what we felt,
Mhm,
but we had to keep it to ourselves.
mhm.
Um, and those friendships that felt just a little bit more than a friendship,
Yeah,
right? Even though there's nothing sexual and nothing romantic, um, the one friend, those friendships that kind of breached the normal level of acquaintance always meant so much,
yeah,
and you could kind of see that, especially when Tails has the one really important scene for Tails, when he talks to Stone and is like, I, I don't, I'm not Sonic's minion. I'm helping him because I'm his friend. I'm
yeah,
his teammate. We're in it together equally. But you're friends with Eggman, right? And that is when you fully understand that there's feelings for Agent Stone there.
yeah,
It's not just, it's not a platonic thing.
yeah,
It's not just he wants the validation of having been by his side. Um, he obviously cares about him a little bit more,
yeah,
and it's nice to see that in the end, when he's on that big screen and weirdly looking down exactly to where Agent Stone was, even
yeah.
though he couldn't see him.
Doesn't
Um,
really make sense, but yeah,
yeah, he he let him know that he cared for him and cherished him and embraced him, and that's all that character really needed.
yeah,
You were there for me even though I was a massive pain,
yeah,
and I see you.
yeah. That's it. I think
So
that I
nice.
see you is was such a validating moment, and I feel like for all the characters in a way, like I think Sonic realized what was important, being family and not destruction. I think Shadow also came to that same realization, and effectively, so we're led to believe at the end of the film,
Hmm.
basically sacrificed himself, almost in a weird way. I feel like trying to do justice by what happened to Maria, um, and realizing that again, destruction is not the way to solve it.
Yeah,
So all these characters have this wonderful wrap up, and I think just ended in a way that I felt satisfied with all the character development.
yeah.
I feel like they all sort of met a point that didn't feel like if this wasn't to come back, every character had the emotional growth they required.
I was exactly about to say the same thing. Of course, we are all very excited for another movie
Yes.
and for another invite to the next premiere. Please
Yes.
and thank you, Paramount. We have done our best with the experience. We'll see you in 2 years' time. But that aside, if that didn't happen, it does feel like what and I've said this earlier. Tom had a purpose,
Yes.
and Tom's purpose was to be there for Sonic, point Sonic in the right direction. I don't think there is a need for Tom anymore,
I would agree.
right? And Sonic has gotten everything that he needed to learn in order to be a respectable and um, mature in his own way
Mhm.
hero to be the game hero we know.
Yeah, I
Right? He
agree.
is now at the right point. Knuckles is now at the right point. He is less about I'm gonna pummel anything because they made that joke so many times in this movie as
Yeah.
well, which is fair. Um, that is what Knuckles is about.
Yeah.
Power, I want to fight.
Yeah.
But his realization of knowing there are moments where I don't need to fight. I'll just be there to pick up the pieces after.
Yeah. I think yeah, they just did a really good job with it.
Yeah.
And
The
we could
yeah.
say, great, that's it. That was an end to a perfect trilogy.
Hmm.
However, as we were all probably expecting, there is more.
Was there? I wasn't paying attention.
It's like,
I was
shockingly,
I was too busy opening my umbrella.
oh, we'll get to that. There is indeed the mid-credit sequence,
Yes.
and this sequence genuinely surprised me because there has been so much talk about, is it going to be Amy? Is it going to be Rouge? Is it going to be Amy? Is it going to be Rouge? Who is it going to be? And I think everyone had placed their bets. I think you had very much tried to manifest Rouge to make an appearance.
She should have been in the movie. I didn't want her in the end credits. She needed to be actually in the movie.
But what happens is, yeah, Sonic runs too far, crazy boy, and he ends up a bit out of state, and suddenly a character for some reason I wasn't expecting, Metal Sonic, turns up, which I can't express how much that made me be like, wait, what? This isn't Amy. This isn't Rouge.
This ain't Pink.
And it genuinely shocked. One, because it's Metal Sonic with like a Mega Man arm, which is crazy, and then Blast Sonic, and then it's an army of Metal Sonics.
Yes.
Also, these Metal Sonics seem very, very faithful. Probably the most faithful to the game designs that we've seen yet.
Genuinely, I will say that now that I have drawn the character way too many times in the past week, I unfortunately, people spoiling and throwing those clips online.
Yeah,
bad boy.
Bad
boy. Sit in the corner and think about what you did. In the meantime, it made me look at it again, and it looks so much like the game.
Yeah, it's kind of wild because it's a very faithful model, but
Immensely.
It's very exciting, and these armies of Metal Sonic, so I'm super hyped, and I thought, okay, this wasn't the reveal I was expecting, but I'm so on board. And then Sonic almost ends his life by Metal Sonic, but there's then another character to save the day, and this reveal was so good because you don't see the character, you just see a character jumping in the air, but you see her Pico hammer. And when I tell you that hammer came out, the noises in the cinema, 90% of them were from our good friend Kaz, but the noises in that cinema when that hammer came out was like, oh shit, it's gonna be Amy. And again, this is sort of the wild experiences you have in a Sonic film viewing. She jumps down, so we know it's Amy at this point, but what's she gonna look like? Because Sonic has had a history of being, we can be a bit apprehensive about how they're going to portray a character. Amy looking, I would argue, better than the game design. That's my opinion. I think they fixed a lot of things that I don't like about the game design.
So much better.
And when that reveal happened, the audience literally, like, this was their Marvel Avengers, like, post-credit. It was the same level of reaction in the film. So much so that the people behind us, who I have what I think were the complimentary cans of still water, threw their drinks in the air in shock, and we were in the splash zone.
Soaked us. Just soaked us. It was so weird. I don't know.
For everyone who's now seen the film, imagine the hype you saw seeing the Amy reveal, but then at the exact same time being sprinkled like a 4D cinema
with the ice bucket challenge, because it was cold weather day and it was cold water.
It was cold, and then it was only afterwards when we were like, well, that was wild, that was crazy, I don't know what that was about. I pick up my coat, and my hood on the back of my coat is just water. It's become a bucket. So I have to tip my hood over and pour out water because I don't know what else to do with it. I should have taken it to the restroom, but I panicked in this moment. I just poured it on the floor. which I'm so sorry, Cineworld, please invite me back. But just tipped it over and was like, well, I guess I have a wet hood now to go out into the rain. Amazing. Um, which kind of almost threw the
Those-
whole moment off, because it was a moment of like being excited about this reveal, but then also being confused that I was suddenly like damp.
It's those Amy fans, man. They be wild.
They they do be wild. They be so wild.
So
Um,
funny.
so I think it's a good setup for something in the future.
Yes.
I am very
Yep.
excited
Yep.
to see what they do with it. I'm again so pleased that Amy looks like doesn't look, because Amy's character design, the reference they would have had to have used from the games meant she could have looked wild, but she looks quite
Hmm.
believable as a character in this universe.
Hmm.
But like I said, a lot of people are expecting Rouge. A lot of people are expecting some wild stuff in this film that is so interesting, because we've had the weird experience of being able to watch all these theories and expectations and actually know how wrong they were.
Yes. So there, it, especially during this past week, when we have watched it now,
Yes.
and people are still posting their, "Oh, this is going to happen." No, no, it's not. Shut up. Stop making clickbait.
Do you have any particular favorites that are like that
Uh,
was so off the mark?
how Tom is very obviously going to be brutally murdered.
They thought
That
he was going to be Maria'd.
as a way to turn Sonic into him and make him feel that pain. Like, wow, what
Yeah,
movie are you watching?
yeah.
How? What rating is this movie? Is this a horror movie?
It's interesting because that theory suggests that the movie doesn't want Shadow to have a redeeming character,
Exactly,
which
exactly.
is so not Shadow.
Another theory was that in reality, Metal Sonic was going to be in this movie, and everything that we've seen in the trailer is actually the first 10 minutes of the movie.
That's
And
wild.
uh, it's actually a full on movie about a team up between Shadow and Sonic to take down Metal Sonic. Like, sure.
Again, I think these are theories from people who don't understand good pacing of storytelling.
At all, at all. They just want everything, but they don't know how to enjoy what they have, basically. Maria, please. The amount of people that asked for people not to cheer when Maria is shot, in no universe where they're going to have a family friendly movie where a child is shot with a gun, people. Have some sense, right? She does not get killed with a shot to the gun, with the gun by gun.
And this is the thing,
That's
like,
so weird.
because there's one shot in the trailer where Maria's on the floor and Shadow and Gerald Robotnik are like
Yes,
sat over her, so you know that she is gonna die. But the
yes,
idea that you think in this family-friendly film that like what's gonna happen? They were gonna sit over her with like a hole in her head. Like what did people think was gonna happen? Like
crazy,
it is crazy,
crazy.
absolutely wild. I think
They did it in retrospect. They did the scene with Maria so tastefully
yeah,
and so good, and it's almost like it was an accident.
yeah, because she was not. So in the games, yes, she was considered part of the, you know, damage that had to be removed. But obviously in the films, they took a very different approach, and she was sort of,
Hmm.
unfortunately, collateral damage of an accident. And you can tell, like, the gun characters, like the people who, like the commander who lived on, like,
Yep.
um, you could tell, admittedly only in the third film, where they decided to bring it in, but that was something that haunts him.
Yeah.
And Shadow obviously can't see that because he's so filled with rage. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think some of the theories for this film were wild. I love the fact that there were shots in the trailer. There's one specific shot in the trailer where Eggman arises from like a hole in the ground, like a pothole thing, and like rises up. And there's him, Gerald. Agent Stone and Shadow, and there's one space. And the amount of times I heard people say that's intentional for the trailer, they've not rendered the Rouge or this other character that's going to be there because there's no way they would just leave an empty space. Turns out they would just leave an empty space.
Hold on. When it comes to wild theories, the wildest, right,
Yeah.
was someone in one, because I just had my fun watching these wild theory movies.
Yeah.
Someone zoomed in to the pupil in Sonic's eye during the chase scene and expanded it to literally dots and pixels
Yeah.
and said, you see this green, yellow, and red next to each other. It's very obvious that by now Shadow has destroyed Knuckles, taken the emerald, and he is going to transform using it. So he will be the winner. I'm like, that is a street light. Like, what is wrong with it? But yeah, I understand the hustle of online posting and the clickbait that you need to try and generate to make yourself
Yeah.
relevant. So it's fine. We forgive you.
We forgive you, but you were all hilariously wrong.
Very, very
like,
wrong in so many
the
ways.
reaching was quite impressive. Strong arms to reach that hard, I think. To some of this movie.
Very, very true. Very true.
So I'm guessing overall you quite like the film.
Solid 9 out of 10.
Fuck. Okay. All right.
It has a lot of rewatchability.
Mm-hmm.
I could easily see it as a movie that I would put in the background while I'm working.
Yeah.
I would also put it on just for the sake of seeing the awe-inducing moments of what the team placed in terms of graphic and ambiance and so on and so forth. It was really good. It's funny that obviously we have spent like the last hour and a bit talking and nitpicking at things,
But yeah,
but we really had to nitpick to even find something.
Because again, yeah, it was nitpicking because overall it's such a joyous experience. It's probably one of the most faithful game adaptations I've seen.
Exactly.
And I think it's just a culmination of the first two films to get to this point. And I'm so glad that the movies were received well enough that they could get to this point.
Yeah,
So
as someone
I'm
who has
very
worked
pleased.
in media and visual arts for a long time, and I've watched so many series and so many movies and so many anime, blah blah blah, I tend to really go through something with a fine-tooth comb.
Yeah.
And for me to say that there were only three small scenes, small bits in this movie that I could criticize,
Yeah.
that's a very big applause from my part.
I think I would wholeheartedly agree, and I can't wait to watch it again. I'm seeing it when this airs. I would have seen it today. I'm seeing
Well
it
done.
tomorrow as well. If you're listening to this
Wow.
in the past, then girl, I've seen it like 600 times. It's fine. I'm so thrilled with this film. I'm so happy it exists, and I am
nice.
genuinely very excited to see what happens next in the movieverse. Just please not another Knuckles TV show. We don't need that.
We will find out in the next premiere we attend.
Yes, Paramount, if you're listening, which you probably aren't, but
How rude.
if you are, we love you. Please invite us again.
We're the best boys.
We are the best boys. I think we have exhausted all our minds and thoughts and views and opinions on this film, and
yeah,
I think it's left me quite tired. I'm not gonna lie.
I have literally spent every waking hour for the past week fully talking and thinking and working around this movie.
Yeah, I think it's worth sharing with people actually what seeing this film has been motivating you creatively, because you've got some new stuff coming along for people to look forward to. I think it's worth. Tell us what have you been up to?
Yes, so a part of my job is traveling around the country in the UK from comic convention to another and selling my own designs, my own fan merch, which I draw based on things that I love and adore. And obviously, this movie was so awe-inspiring that I came home and I have worked tirelessly on a new series of Shadow, Sonic, and Metal Sonic designs, which at the time of the release of this will be on my website. So please have a look or check it out on my socials.
Yes, absolutely do check it out. Where can people find you on your social?
I am more or less Gilbone everywhere on Instagram, on TikTok, on Facebook, um, Twitter, Blue Sky, anywhere. Um, but my main store is my own website, which is gilbone.com, and we will have a very special section dedicated to Sonic the Hedgehog and all the items that I have created inspired by this whole year of Sonic for me, and I wouldn't change it for the world. I am so happy to be a part of this community, and
And the community is.
I hope the community embraces me.
I think they are. The reception I've seen to the design you've already made have been crazy. So I can only imagine what's going to happen next. So yeah, do check out all those designs. Pick up something. I have seen them. You will want them. Trust me. Do check them out. Like you said, everywhere at Gilbone or uh, at gilbone.com. That's spelled GILLESBONE.com. And if people would like to see these things in person,
Yes.
when will be the next opportunity for them to see these awesome designs in the flesh?
Yes, myself, my designs, as well as my life-size statues of
Yes.
Sonic and Shadow, are going to be next at MegaCon London on January 25th and 26th at the Excel um, in London. Quite, quite. Yes, we will be there. We're going to have a booth with the person I collaborate with to make the statues. If I invite anyone who's listening to come down and take pictures with the statues, have a great time, come and talk to myself and to my lovely table assistant who is maybe an even bigger Sonic fan than you.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's if the idea of seeing these awesome designs, if the idea of seeing literally a life-size movie Sonic and a life-size movie Shadow is not enough, Sonic Cage Dome will be supporting that table. So
yes.
if you want to see all those things and this weird Sonic fan in the corner, then
Wow.
I highly recommend you visit. Um, it's going to be awesome. I can't wait. I'm genuinely so excited. Mainly because my main motivation is I want to see Shadow, a life-size Shadow. So
Yes. If Shadow isn't fully painted, I don't know if I'll bring him. I will just have to rely on social media and people to tell me, please bring Shadow, to be convinced. But we're going to try and make sure that they're both done to the same kind of stage so people can take pictures with them together and have a great time, basically.
it's going to be so good. I got to meet as if it's a real person. I got to
Yeah.
see the life-size Sonic, and I was like, the selfie potential is wild. So just for Sonic alone, you should definitely come along and check it out and see all the amazing crazy things because those tables and like I said the printing like rabbits that you collaborate with to make these things happen,
Yes.
they have got some insane things from other franchises that you're gonna
Mm-hmm.
people are gonna be very excited for. I'm very excited to bring
100%.
this out. Right, before we go, I have
Mm-hmm.
one deep important question to ask you.
Okay.
Okay. You're on a cliff edge,
Mm-hmm.
and the two loves of your life are either side of you. And there is a voice telling you only one can survive. The other will be shot in the back of the head.
Dramatic.
On your left is Shadow the Hedgehog.
Yes.
On your right is the werehog.
Oh no! What?
Who do you save and who perishes?
This is cruel.
And
This is cruel.
life is tough, you know.
On the basis that no bullet would actually shoot Shadow fast enough. But also, werehog should have regenerative powers.
I like how you're trying to sort of like basically add lore to get out of having to make a decision.
No,
Pick a name. Who are you saving?
This is called creativity. I would. Oh, this is terrible. But there is a way. There is a way for me to have both.
No, that's not the game.
The game is I will choose werehog to be shot and turn Shadow into a werehog. And then I can have a werehog Shadow. I am the new Eggman.
Fine, sorry, werehog. You've got it. Rest in peace to his fluffy face.
No. This is cruel.
Sorry,
Who came up with this?
Just these are learning opportunities. The same way Sonic learned a lot in the third movie. We're learning a lot today. Well, thank you everyone for listening to this joyous experience. I hope you enjoyed the podcast as much as we did talking about the Sonic movie. If you have anything you want to share with us, maybe you thought, actually, these guys are talking absolute rubbish and I have to tell them how angry I am, do so in a loving, caring way, of course. You can find the podcast everywhere online at Sonic Cage Dome, and we're on Spotify, and we're on iTunes, and we're on Google Podcasts, and we're on... If you have a thing that does podcasts, we are on there, and it would mean the world if you went on there and gave us 5 stars. Like, just lie. If you thought it was worth it, just give us 5 stars, because it just matters a lot. It just means the world. If you can't support this podcast financially, which is, well, I get it, actually giving us a rating, you do not understand how well that works for us in terms of getting our podcast on the front pages of stuff. So please rate us a 5-star. Leave us a review. If you're on Spotify, leave us a comment. I love reading comments, so do engage. We love it. And until next time, that's it. I'm going to bed.
Bye.
So smooth. So smooth.
I'm on a cliff with Shadow after I just murdered Werehog. So I don't know what energy you want from me right now.